All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Grow Rogue podcast. Today, we are doing something that I really enjoy, which is we're examining a startup that is addressing a real need in the marketplace. And it lets me talk a little bit about what our job is as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as business leaders. And it is to figure out gaps or constraints or where there's friction in a particular market or in a particular process, and then set out to try to remove some of that friction. And that's where we build our business, is in that space where there's friction. And so I'm excited to introduce Vinson Wong. Vinson Wong is the founder and the leader here of FastWills, but I'll let him introduce himself and his business. Vinson, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Reade. Um, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work for a lot of startups in my career. Most of them have gotten acquired. It's actually kind of funny, you and I were chatting and we talk about histories. I actually come from the financial enterprise technology space, right? So heavily with banks and investment firms. I spent the last 16 years or so really focusing on algorithmic trading and crypto. Really helping to build small businesses and take that to a large enterprise type setting. About 2 years ago, I really, was looking for a new challenge, something new to get into, and that's where I met my partner, Zach Sekiris, the CEO of FastWill. And he had this really interesting idea, right, about making wills and trusts available to people. He himself was a former financial advisor, and one of the things advisors all do is, they're looking for holistic planning for their clients, right? They want to make sure you're protected. It's one of those things where you don't need it until you need it. Something happens, right? So, he'd recommend people to go see attorneys, and then the cost and the time it takes to get these things done, people would just sort of say, okay, yeah, no, thanks. We'll just pass on this one bit, right? So there's sort of a gaping hole there with, your holistic planning and protection. And that's where the idea of FastWill was born, right? I'm in my early 40s. I've got a family. I've got a house, right? I never thought to myself, hey, maybe I should do something to protect some of these things, right? Which is why I had a great conversation with Zach at the time. We were talking about, how this product can help families, and it's really not such a huge process to the whole thing. It's not as scary as you think it is. It's not just for the ultra rich, right? And we had that conversation, and I thought of myself, okay, I've got a lot of experience on the B2B side, on the enterprise side. I really think we can take this product and really, solve a big problem in the market today. And I joined him on this journey about 2 years ago to try to build this company up and build a solution there to help everybody.
That's really cool. I like that story of like, hey, look, there's a gap between most people, and we talked about this in our first conversation, is that sometimes it's cost, which you described. You talk about that. Sometimes it's an understanding gap. It's like, hey, this is something I know I need, but like I don't really understand it. And if I don't understand it, there's an intimidation there about going to talk to an attorney that might cost me a lot of money just to bring me up to speed in terms of what I know about this. So to talk a little bit about how you guys have, penetrated that market, what has worked for you guys when it comes to getting those, initial customers or that initial traction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I use my own personal experiences as a good point, right? In the beginning, I didn't know what a trust was, right? What is the actual benefit? And I think education is a large part of it, right? Understanding why it's important to have a trust. What are you actually protecting? People talk a lot about the words like, they throw around a lot of terms like probate or wills, trust. and you sort of think about it in the back of your mind. It's there, but you don't really know what it is, and you just think, okay, I got to talk to an attorney and figure this all out, right? And FastWill's job is basically to make this as easy as possible for people, right? What most people don't realize is that 90% of Americans need a trust just to protect basic things. If you have a house, if you have any kind of assets, if you have kids, you really do need a trust to try to help you there. Probate is this dirty word that people throw around a lot to scare you into thinking, well, if something happens to you, then my assets go into a probate process, which effectively means that the courts have to review the legitimacy of who owns it, who gets to have it after you've passed, right? And the scary thing about that process is that basically it locks up your assets for sometimes a couple years, depending on what state you're in. Now, what does that mean for you as a family, your family living, and where are they going to stay? What can they do with the house? It leaves a lot in limbo, right? So it goes back to, again, planning and thinking holistically how this can help you. So FastWill does its best to simplify this process, right? We provide the users with a lot of education, all kinds of terms they can throw out there. You can look on our site. We've got a great Learn Center with all terminologies explained. And really, the process is very simple, right? It should be go at your own pace whenever it's convenient for you. You should be able to modify the documents when you need to. And it should be presented to you in plain English, right? I mean, neither you nor I are legal attorneys, right? I don't want to be at this point.
Right.
So it should be something that the average person can understand and, be able to complete on their own, and they can actually concretely say at the end, I understand, what I've just completed and what it represents. So that's what FastWill is all about, making it easier, simpler for people and attainable for people at, a relatively low cost.
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? Is the making it attainable, making it feel like something that is that, hey, I can get this done and it's not going to take up a lot of time. It's not going to take a lot of money. So from a technology side, right? Because this feels like both a legal industry play and a tech play, right? Is that, given your background, is that one of the things that attracted you to the opportunity? And in what ways are you guys really incorporating that into the platform or into the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, you're absolutely right. I come from years of just technology background, right? So my answer to everything is we can build it, we can solve it. Technology plays a major role in that. The funny thing about this category of technology, right? We call it all legal tech, right? Anything that falls under the legal domain. It's one of the last segments of technology to make advances. And the reason for that is it's based on the law, and the law requires a lot of people involved. It requires attorneys, it requires interpretation of the law. So it's not something that you can just throw out there and fully automate, right? One of the big buzzwords, I'm sure, from everyone out there, everyone's heard of AI. AI has touched your life in some way, shape, or form, right? So we frequently get the question of, why do I need this? I can just stick this into ChatGPT and it'll go ahead and do it for me. The problem is AI is great on a grand scale, right? It takes a lot of broad ideas and it simplifies them. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's legal. It's not right. It doesn't necessarily apply to law. It can take a large segment of comments, reduce it down, and it can apply that thinking that that is a legal statement, legal terminology. What we've done here at FastWill is that basically we've sat down and built these documents from attorneys, right? And we say this very often. A will and a trust, when you go to see an attorney and you actually have one drafted for you, they're not actually sitting there writing this out by hand, from scratch. They over time they built it up through various templates that they're going to present to you, and ask you certain questions to fill it in. What we've done is basically gone through a bunch of different templates with attorneys in all 50 states to make sure that it's state compliant and compiled really best practices around all of it. So the documents have been fully reviewed by an attorney. They were drafted by an attorney. What we've done on the technology side is basically simplify the process for the user so that it's very user-friendly, very easy to use, but on the back end, it's powered by a legal team and attorney review.
I gotcha. And so talk to me a little bit about, because this is what I'm interested in is, okay, so we've got our kind of place in the market. We've got our advantage, right, over the alternative. And we've got the way that we are reaching that market. Talk to me about growth, right? That's what a lot of our audience is really interested in is, okay, well, how do we take a business like this and how do we grow it? What is working for you guys? And feel free to get as technical or as detailed as you want. And then what is the trajectory looking like? Is the plan to build this to a place of being able to exit, or are we trying to scale? What's the plans like, or what are the plans kind of for the future based on growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this space is very interesting, right? I think we are actually here at FastWill, we're trying to attack it from two different verticals, right? You have your direct-to-consumer market, which we play in. We make it very simple for people to do. We market directly to consumers. The consumer stage requires a lot of education, like we said in the very beginning, right? People understanding why this is important, why we are a differentiator, and why they should trust a system like this, right? So there's a lot of education involved in trying to make the conversion. We bundle a lot of services together to try to simplify the whole thing for the consumer, but it does take a lot longer to make a conversion on the consumer side, because again, we have to take them from various stages of the funnel to make sure they understand what they're purchasing. The other side of our business is on the B2B commercial side, where we work with a lot of financial advisors, a lot of insurance agencies, to really let them diversify their offering, right? As I said, my partner, Zach, he's the one who came up with the idea. He's from the financial advisory business, right? So he knows he's run into this exact same problem. Those are the type of people we are going out there working with, where they can get involved with FastWill. We can plug in very easily with them. From a technology standpoint, we can be as integrated as you'd like it to be, right? It can be a completely white labeled solution. It can be, a partial redirect or reference type thing. It really depends on, the level of engagement. But really with financial advisors, what we found the difference is that they're looking to differentiate their practice, right? They're looking to do something different from every other financial advisor out there. And one of the great things is being able to offer estate planning, right? So a lot of advisors use our solution, they turn around, they give it to their clients, knowing that this is peace of mind. They have to do it anyway. They will know if their client actually completes a document because they're alerted of such, and that way they know that they've done right by their client, right? They've done good for the business, they've done good for themselves, and they can move on with it. So it's a great differentiator for them. Same thing on the insurance side. We hear it very frequently that it's coming up now with things like life insurance. It pairs very well. But even on the property and casualty insurance side, which I find interesting, people are, they have businesses, they have properties, and now they're thinking, okay, what happens if I pass? Should I do something about it? So we find that a lot of insurance agents are coming back to us saying the same thing. Hey, how do I get involved? How do I offer this up to our clients? And we do, rev share program. So we're very flexible with our B2B solution. We have a lot of great conversations with people out there, trying to integrate this into their platform.
So that's really interesting to me. And what I would, the bucket that I would put this in is, you're lending expertise, or you're offering a level of expertise and expanded services for, the terminology that we've used, just talking about this, when we have conversations with clients, is that, it is, oh, darn it, what is the term? What we're describing is sort of like this parallel service provider, right? Where it's like, if I'm a financial advisor, these are issues that they happen in the same dinner table conversation, right? If I'm an advisor and I'm talking to a client about their retirement or about their financial situation one way or another, it's such a simple, uh, step to go and then talk about some of the legal needs, but that's not my expertise, right? I'm not an attorney. I'm not, I don't practice. I can't help them with that directly. But as an advisor, if I can say, look, we can't help you, I can't help you with that personally, but we do have this resource that allows us to serve that particular need for the client. So what it does is that for as far as the client's concerned, I look even more valuable as an advisor. Sure, there's some revenue that I can generate through that, but what's really, really valuable to me is that this client now has two strings attached to me, right? I've helped them with their financial plan, but I've also helped them with their trust, with their estate plan. And so they're now more connected to me. So that's a tremendous value, not only to the client, but to the advisor as well. So kudos to you guys for thinking in those terms. Well, what's next, Vincent? I mean, you're a young guy. You've done this a few times. Are you excited about the near? I'm sure you're excited about the near future, but what are you most excited about for the kind of short to medium term future? What are you guys working on? That's kind of got you going.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot left of lot of room left here for growth for FastWill. Again, we are always constantly taking the evolution of what clients are saying to us with what we do to try to get feedback and improve the product. I may or may not mention that again, we bundle a lot of services. So we formed a lot of partnerships over the past 2 years to offer things like remote notary, and de-transfer, right? And again, that also requires a lot more education, people understanding why their documents should be notarized, what they have to do after to transfer their assets into the home, right? These kind of connected partnerships help us, again, simplify the process as much as we can for the user, right? That's what the whole thing is really all about. On a grand scale, where we're looking to go with this is, again, just to roll out further, make better partnerships wherever we can offer more services, work with other companies on, again, white labeling our product and growing that way in a bit of organic traffic. I'd like to see us cultivating more on the education side, just trying to see where people are going with this. It's funny. I think you and I talked a little bit about the demographics of people that are doing this. We find that actually a large part of demographics are people who are 65 and over and who are women. And it's funny, you get this done in the late stage of your life when you really have a lot more free time, right? Your career is winding down, you're near retirement. Now you start wondering and pondering about all the other things to wonder about. Meanwhile, you're in your 30s and 40s, you're not really thinking about these things. We have clients that do this in their 30s, 40s, but they're always doing it for their parents, right? They're never doing it for themselves. So we are trying to change the narrative, trying to get education out there as much as possible. When people register and do this with them, we send them articles periodically, trying to get people engaged and think about this a little further ahead. My partner Zach says all the time, we found it funny that it was women, and what he said to me was that in the financial advisory business, you find that most of the people are women who plan ahead. Men, for some reason, just like to think they live forever. So plan. So, for us, it's, I think that we are doing right by the industry. We're doing right for the average consumer by providing as much education as possible, and then trying to get them to get this done. You asked me about the grand stage of what we want to do with FastWill. Again, I've seen this go many different ways, a lot of different startups. Obviously, a buyout is what most people are looking for, an IPO at some stage. I'd say that for us at FastWill, we're pretty open to it, right? If the business runs well, going public, sure. We are luckily very fortunate to be self-funded, so we don't have any obligations to anybody. We don't have obligations to any VCs trying to steer the direction of where the company goes, right? This really just comes down to a vision of both myself and my partner, Zach, of where we want to take FastWill and what we want to do with the organization.
Well, that's really awesome. It's great to be able to have like your future in your hands, right? I mean, if you are, and look, I understand that sometimes it makes sense to take venture capital or to take, investor capital, to take on debt as a way of funding growth. There's a place for all of that, and there's advantages to it, sure. But there's something really great about being able to have complete control over your future and the decisions that you make, and knowing that you're not beholden to answering to, a board that's looking to, for maybe some different outcomes than what you are. So that's really great to see, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for you guys. For those who are watching this episode or for listening to this episode, and they want to follow along, they want to see how this goes, or maybe they're thinking, crap, this has been the thing that's on my list for a while, I know I need to get this done. What is the place that they need to go learn more about you guys?
Yeah, you can just land directly at fastwill.com. One word, very simple, very clean site. You can, again, if you just want to get involved, you can read all about us on our site. One of the things that we add there as a human touch is we have a live 24/7 chat. I promise it's not an AI bot. That is the first question we get all the time on that chat. Are you an AI bot? No. We found that you really do need that human touch to make sure that you're reaching out and talking to your consumers. You can have a conversation with our support staff who are, very good at their jobs, understand the product inside and out, and they will address any concerns that you have. If you're a business and you see that this is interesting, we've got a great professionals page right there on the front and center on the home page itself. You can book a call. We are still a small company. We're a startup, like you said. You most likely will be booking a call either with myself or my partner, Zach, the CEO of the company. So there are no middlemen involved. You are talking directly to, the people who are trying to drive and improve the product, as well as drive and improve the business. So, you're talking to the decision makers at that point.
That's really great. Well, folks, make sure you go check that out. Follow Vinson, follow FastWill, and get all the help that you need on those things from those guys. It's really great to be able to talk to you about this, Vinson. I'm excited to publish this episode. I know people are going to learn a lot. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Grow Rogue podcast. And for those of you who are watching, listening, please like and share this. It really helps us tremendously. And as always, drop any questions that you have there in the comments, and we'll be sure to get back to you. All right, folks, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.